Before we crack open tonight's cursed can of content, I just want to say a big thank you to all our subscribers, and an extra sinister shout out to the loyal members of the Sinister Elite. You legends help keep the darkness alive. If you're enjoying the stories and want to take it a step further, hit that like button, make sure you're subscribed, and consider joining the Sinister Elite by clicking that join button below. Members get access to creepy custom emojis and exclusive Sinister Elite badges that level up the longer you survive with us. It's like loyalty, but spookier. All right, lights off, headphones in, and let's summon something we'll all regret. I'll be real with you. Working night shift at the Grigsby Hill Cemetery ain't exactly rocket science. You pick up trash, rake leaves, and make sure no teenagers sneak in to vape near the angel statues. Easy money. At least it was easy. Until I realized Halloween night here is basically a horror movie marathon with no remote to turn it off. My name's Dale Haggerty, and yeah, I might be a little slower than most folks. My brain's basically a slow-loading webpage thanks to years of high-grade Colorado weed. I used to work at a car wash, then a gas station, then a haunted bowling alley. Don't ask. But now I push brooms through the boneyard. Well, not just any broom. My mop, Moptimus Prime, is my pride and joy. It's a handcrafted janitorial relic made from oak, steel, and whatever unholy glow-in-the-dark resin the previous custodian cooked up in his shed. Legend says it was forged from the handle of a gallows beam. When it's quiet, you can almost hear it humming, like it's alive. Every October 31st, weird stuff happens here. Old lanterns flicker when no one's around, graves crack open just a little too wide, and fog thickens so heavy it feels alive. The previous groundskeeper, Old Mel, left me a note when he retired that said, "If you're still around come Halloween night, remember the 3 rules. Never whistle after midnight. Don't answer if the dead call your name. And if the ground starts breathing, run." Naturally, I laughed, folded it into a joint filter and smoked it. So, fast forward to tonight. Halloween. Full moon. Cold enough to make the fog stick to my hoodie. I've got a Bluetooth speaker blasting old-school rap while I rake leaves off headstones. I'm high, I'm vibin', and the moon looks like a glowing pumpkin. That's when I hear it. A giggle. Not a cute kid giggle, not even a ghostly echo. No. This sounded like a corpse trying to laugh through dry lungs. It came from somewhere near the Whitmore Mausoleum, a big stone box that looks like Dracula's Airbnb. I pause my music. Yo, hello? Anyone there? Silence. Then a whisper. Dale. I freeze. I don't remember putting my name on the visitor list for the afterlife. The ground around the mausoleum starts to shift, like something underneath is stretching. A little patch of dirt exhales. Yeah, exhales. Sending fog curling upward like breath on a cold morning. Okay, I mutter, gripping Moptimus. Rule number 3. If the ground starts breathing, run. But I'm baked, so my brain processes that a solid 30 seconds too late. The soil bursts open like a sand geyser, and a hand, gray, swollen, and still wearing a friendship bracelet, shoots out and grabs my boot. Son of a bitch! I stumble back, swatting with Moptimus. The mop head slaps the hand with a wet thwop, and for some reason it lets go, like it's allergic to cleanliness. Another hand shoots up, then a head, then 2 more behind it. Within seconds, I'm surrounded by ghouls crawling out of their graves like they just heard the words free buffet. Okay, chill, I yell, backing toward the main path. I didn't bring enough Doritos for all y'all. One of them croaks something that sounds like join us. Another moans like a broken leaf blower. Then Moptimus starts to glow. I swear I didn't spike my gummies this time. The mop handle starts humming like an electric guitar string, and faint blue light pulses down its shaft. The air gets warmer and the smell of ozone fills my nose. "Oh, you're awake," I whisper, holding it like a sword. "Do your thing, bud." Moptimus twitches, just once, and then lets out this soft whoomph. A shockwave of blue light blasts outward, and the ghouls screech as they're thrown back into their graves like invisible hands just dunked them. The fog clears instantly, the moonlight sharpens, and for a second, everything's calm again. I lean on Moptimus, panting. Bro, you're the real MVP. He doesn't say anything. He's a mop after all. But I swear the head of it flops proudly, like a knight nodding after slaying a dragon. I start heading toward the caretaker's shed to grab a beer and calm my nerves when I notice something glowing over by the chapel. Dim orange light flickering through the windows. That's weird. Nobody's used that building since the 1920s. And even weirder? There's music coming from inside. Old-timey jazz, faint and scratchy, like it's playing on a gramophone. Oh, hell, I groan. Please don't be ghost prom night again. Moptimus hums in my hand like he agrees. The path leading to the chapel's lined with lanterns. Real ones, oil burning, even though I didn't light any tonight. Each one flickers brighter the closer I get. The door creaks open, slow as molasses, revealing shadows moving inside. I take one cautious step forward, ready to run or fight depending on what I see. Then something clatters behind me. I spin around. A gravestone has cracked open. Inside, a coffin lid creaks upward. Something whispers my name again. Dal. But this time it sounds closer, right next to my ear. I whip around and swing Moptimus like a baseball bat. It connects with something solid, something wet, and a transparent figure flickers into view. A woman in a tattered wedding dress, eyes glowing green, mouth stretched too wide. She shrieks and lunges. I don't think, I just react. I raise Moptimus overhead like a sword, and it flashes with that blue light again. The ghost freezes mid-lunge, her body scattering into sparks that fade into the mist. My legs nearly give out. Dude, I'm not even getting paid overtime for this. The mop's glow dims to a faint shimmer, as if it's catching its breath too. Then from somewhere deep in the cemetery, a bell tolls. Once, twice, midnight, and the fog starts crawling back. This time, it's laughing. When I say the fog was laughing, I don't mean like metaphorically. It was literally chuckling, 1,000 faint voices giggling inside the mist, weaving through the tombstones like a creepy crowd at a comedy club. Every instinct in my body said run. Every THC molecule in my body said maybe it's just the wind, bro. Spoiler, it wasn't the wind. I gripped Moptimus tighter. The glow had faded to a faint blue pulse, like a heartbeat. Whatever energy it had used to slap the dead back to bed earlier, it was charging back up slowly, like me after eating too many edibles. The chapel up ahead flickered brighter. The jazz music was clearer now, some 1930s tune that would have been classy if it wasn't echoing through a graveyard at midnight. It was the kind of music that made ghosts want to dance, and that's exactly what they were doing. When I peeked through the cracked chapel door, my jaw dropped. Inside, dozens of translucent figures were swaying, spinning, dancing. A ghostly band played on a spectral stage. Horns, drums, a piano that played itself. Tables floated in the air with ghostly drinks. And right in the middle of the crowd stood a big guy in a top hat and a tattered tuxedo, grinning with teeth so sharp they could open a can of chili. "Welcome, Dale," he said, voice smooth like butter and smoke. "We've been expecting you." My blood went cold. "Yeah, I didn't RSVP, dude. I was just, leaf duty, you know?" He chuckled. "It's All Hallows Eve, and every year we rise for one night to celebrate. But tonight," he pointed one bony finger at Moptimus, "you brought him." The mop shivered in my hands, glowing faintly. "Ah, the cleansing relic," the ghost continued. "Forged to seal us away centuries ago. How delightful. The janitor's Excalibur." I blinked. "Wait, hold up. You're telling me this mop is famous? Like, paranormal celebrity famous?" "Oh yes," the ghost hissed. "And tonight it dies with you." The jazz cut out. The air went cold. Every ghost turned toward me. "Aw, hell," I muttered. "Moptimus, we're about to mop the floor with some ghouls." The mop pulsed bright blue, and the nearest ghost shrieked like a feedback speaker. I swung, and it disintegrated into a puff of silver dust. Another lunged. Bam. Gone. Moptimus hummed like a chainsaw made of holy light. It was chaos. Tables flipping, specters screeching, the ghostly band members throwing instruments like weapons. I ducked a flying trumpet, spun, and smacked a ghoul across the headstone-hard jaw. It dissolved mid-scream. Through it all, Top Hat just laughed. "You can't stop the dance, Dale," he boomed. "We'll rise again and again until the sun burns out." "Well," I said, panting, "good thing I work night shifts." He lunged, faster than I could blink, and grabbed me by the throat. His hand felt like dry ice, burning and freezing at the same time. "You mortals never learn," he growled, lifting me off the ground. "This place belongs to us." Then, just as my vision started to blur, Moptimus moved on its own. The handle twisted in my grip, yanking free, and struck Top Hat square in the chest. Blue light exploded through him like a firework. He screamed, his whole body fracturing into shards of light that rained down like snow. When the glow faded, all that was left was silence, and me, lying on the chapel floor, coughing like I'd just hit a vape made of frostbite. Moptimus leaned against a pew, steaming faintly. "Yeah," I croaked. "You really are Excalibur with a mop head." Then the bell tolled again. Dong. Outside, the laughter returned, but this time it was deeper, louder, heavier. When I staggered outside, the cemetery looked like a war zone. Dozens of graves were cracked open. The fog churned like boiling water, shapes moving inside it. The air smelled like wet dirt and ozone. And then the ground split near the old oak tree, and something huge began to crawl out. Its hands were as big as headstones, skin stretched tight over bone, eyes glowing molten red. It was wearing fragments of old armor, rusted and cracked, with vines growing through it. "What in the monster mash is that?" I gasped. Moptimus twitched in my hands like a dog ready to pounce. The creature lifted its head. Its mouth opened like a collapsing mine shaft, and it spoke. "Dale Haggerty, the gatekeeper falls tonight." "Yeah, about that," I said, backing up. "Can we, reschedule? Maybe after breakfast?" It stepped forward, each footfall shaking the earth. The graves around it rippled. More undead climbed free. Ghouls, skeletons, shadowy forms that screamed like wind through hollow wood. All of them marching toward me. I held Moptimus up high. "All right, buddy. It's you, me, and a cemetery full of nightmares. Let's show 'em what clean really means." The mop erupted in light, this time golden, not blue. The entire graveyard was bathed in it, shadows scattering. The fog screamed like it was alive. The creature roared and charged. I swung with everything I had. The mop collided with its chest, sending out a shockwave that flattened tombstones and turned half the fog to glittering dust. But it didn't fall. It laughed. "You wield a relic of purity," it thundered, "but you are impure. You reek of smoke and sin." "Yeah," I coughed. "Well, I'm a work in progress." It grabbed me by the arm and flung me like a rag doll. I hit a statue, stars bursting behind my eyes. Moptimus clattered out of reach, its light dimming. The undead army surrounded me, chanting in voices that sounded like the rustle of dead leaves. At midnight, the gate opens. At midnight, the world remembers. And then, the bell tolled a third time. The air split open with a sound like tearing fabric, and a dark portal began to form above the graves. The portal ripped the sky wide open. It wasn't lightning or fire. It was worse. A swirling black and red storm shaped like a screaming mouth hovered over the graves, sucking in fog, dirt, and loose flowers. The whole cemetery trembled like it was breathing again, and this time, I knew that wasn't weed paranoia. I scrambled toward Moptimus. The mop lay half buried in cracked stone, its glow flickering like a dying candle. Ghouls stumbled toward it, shrieking, desperate to snuff it out. "Don't you touch my boy!" I yelled, diving forward. I snatched the handle just as one skeletal hand reached for it. Zap! The creature vaporized in blue fire. Moptimus hummed back to life, brighter, louder, like it had just slammed a Red Bull. "All right, buddy," I wheezed. "Let's save Halloween before corporate America trademarks it again." The portal pulsed, and something massive moved inside. I saw horns, wings, a grin full of too many teeth. Whatever it was coming through. Around me, gravestones shattered. The undead circled tighter. The armored giant from before raised its rusted sword, pointing it at me. "When the gate opens," it thundered, "the dead reclaim the world." "Yeah, well, I reclaim my overtime pay," I charged. Now I ain't exactly a warrior. I'm a guy who once lost a fight to a snowblower. But Moptimus guided me. Every swing left trails of glowing blue light that burned through ghosts like disinfectant through germs. I spun, ducked, smacked, and yelled profanity that echoed off marble. The mop wasn't just a tool. It was alive. Every time I swung, it seemed to predict where the monsters would move. When one ghoul tried to grab my leg, Moptimus jabbed its head down like a spear, blasting light straight through it. The armored giant swung its sword. It hit the ground beside me, sending dirt flying. I jumped and slammed Moptimus into its face. The impact was like thunder. Cracks spiderwebbed through its skull. It roared and stumbled back, but the gate kept growing. Above us, lightning flashed, revealing faces, hundreds of them, trapped in the swirling darkness, screaming to get out. "Yo, Moptimus," I gasped. "Any ideas?" The mop vibrated, glowing brighter until it was almost blinding. Then, for the first time ever, I heard a voice. Not loud, not in my ears, in my head. "The gate must be cleansed." I blinked. "Bro, you can talk?" "Only on Halloween. Limited warranty." Figures. The ground cracked again, and green fire erupted around the portal's edge. The giant let out a triumphant roar and began chanting in some dead language. The graves joined in, voices of 1,000 corpses humming one long, awful note that shook the air. I did the only thing that made sense. I took a hit from the vape in my pocket, exhaled slowly, and said, "Let's mop this mess." Moptimus exploded in golden fire. The mop head transformed. The cloth strands stiffened into gleaming threads of energy, fanning out like blades. The handle elongated, etchings glowing like scripture. The cleansing relic had awakened. I ran toward the gate. Every swing of Moptimus sent waves of light through the air, vaporizing ghosts and splitting open skeletal ranks. The air burned. The smell of ozone filled my nose. The giant tried to block me again. It swung its sword in a wide arc. Sparks flew as it collided with Moptimus. The clang echoed like a church bell underwater. I pushed forward, our weapons locked. "You cannot stop the turning!" the monster roared. "Watch me, Rusty!" I jammed Moptimus upward. The mop's light surged into the creature's chest, blasting straight through. Its armor melted like wax, and its body collapsed into a pile of smoking bones. But the gate didn't close. In fact, it got angrier. The wind howled, the sky split further. A voice thundered down, "Dale Haggerty, you have been chosen." I froze mid-swing. Whoa, hey, I didn't sign up for any cult stuff. A new janitor of the Vale must arise. Lightning struck the ground inches from my feet, searing a symbol into the dirt. A glowing circle with 3 sweeping lines. It pulsed like a heartbeat. Moptimus buzzed in my hands again, and the voice inside said, "Step into the seal, Dale." I stared at it. Man, that looks like instant death. Trust the cleanse. I took a deep breath, muttered, "If this kills me, I'm haunting my boss," and stepped inside. The world went white. Wind tore at my clothes, light burned my eyes, and every ghostly voice screamed in reverse. I felt like I was falling and floating all at once. Then I saw them. Thousands of spirits swirling around me like leaves in a storm. Each one touched by the mop's light as it expanded outward, cleansing them. The gate flickered, then began to close. From far below, I heard the giant's dying roar, and then silence. When I hit the ground again, the cemetery was calm. The fog had vanished. The moon shone bright and still. I was lying in a crater, Moptimus stuck upright beside me like a flag planted by the world's dumbest hero. I groaned. Bro, you ever clean up an entire apocalypse before? First time for everything. I laughed until I coughed. The mop's glow dimmed and went still. And then, behind me I heard slow clapping. Top Hat, the ghost I'd blasted in the chapel, was back, faint and flickering, but smiling. Well done, janitor, he said softly. But the gate was only one of 3. The bell tolled again. The sound of the bell echoed through the graveyard like a heartbeat in an empty chest. Dong, dong. Each toll sent ripples through the air, and even though most of the undead were gone, I swear the fog quivered like it remembered being alive. Top Hat's ghost flickered before me, half transparent, smiling that shark-toothed grin. Only one gate closed, Dale, he said. But the others, they hunger. I sat up, my ribs screaming. Yeah, no thanks. I already saved Halloween once tonight, my dude. I'm clocking out. He tilted his head. You think this was a shift? Oh no. You've merely begun your tenure? I barely passed high school. The ghost chuckled, the sound warping into static before fading away completely. In his place, carved into the dirt, glowed a new message. The next gate opens at 2:13 a.m., beneath the caretaker's shed. Man, I muttered. I knew that place smelled like death tacos for a reason. I hauled myself up, grabbed Moptimus, still faintly glowing, and limped toward the shed. My vape pen was empty, my nerves were shot, and my heart was pounding like a drum solo. Halfway there, the night wind shifted. The graves creaked like old doors, and I swear I heard voices whispering under the soil. Dal. Keeper. Cleanser. Yeah, I grumbled. Tell your union rep I'm busy. The shed loomed ahead, an old wooden thing that leaned to one side like it was drunk. The sign above it read Tools and Supplies, but the S was missing, so it just said Tool and Applies, which somehow felt accurate for my life. I opened the door. The smell hit first, mold, oil, and something metallic. Inside, tools hung from hooks, and a flickering bulb dangled overhead. My janitor cart sat in the corner, half filled with trash bags and cleaning supplies. Then the floorboards creaked. I looked down just in time to see a glowing red crack appear beneath my boots. Oh no. Nope. The crack spread fast, carving symbols through the floorboards, burning like magma. A circular design formed. Another gate. The same pattern I'd seen before. The voice of Moptimus filled my head again. Second gate detected. Yeah, no kidding. You got like a close gate button on you or... The floor exploded. I tumbled backward as a wave of black smoke blasted up from the pit, filling the shed. The air went ice cold. Through the smoke, shapes formed, smaller this time, but faster. Dozens of tiny, goblin-like creatures with glowing red eyes and razor teeth crawled out, screeching like raccoons on Red Bull. Aw hell, we got mini-bosses! I swung Moptimus, smacking one in the face. It burst into sparks. Another leapt onto my back. I spun and slammed it into a shelf. Tools scattered. The mop's glow flared brighter, casting long shadows that made the goblins hiss. These are gatekeepers, Moptimus said. They must be purged to seal the second gate. Bro, I'm a janitor, not a demon exterminator. Same skill set, different clientele. I grinned. All right then, let's clean house. The next few minutes were chaos. Glowing mop swings, screeching gremlins, shattered glass, and one broken vacuum. I fought like a man possessed, Moptimus striking faster than I could think. Each hit left trails of light that burned symbols into the walls. One of the creatures hissed, "You cannot cleanse what is cursed." Buddy, I clean porta potties after music festivals. You don't scare me? I drove Moptimus straight through its chest. It exploded in blue light, taking half the floor with it. The last goblin lunged at my face, but Moptimus whipped around midair and bonked it like a fly swatter. The creature squealed, turned to mist, and the red cracks on the floor faded to gray. Silence. Then the mop's light dimmed. Second gate sealed. I slumped against the wall, breathing hard. 2 down, 1 to go. You sure you don't have, like, a turbo mode or something? I am running on fumes and fiber. Same. I looked out the shed window. The moon hung low, glowing orange, and a storm was rolling in from the west. The kind of storm that looks angry before it even hits. That's when I saw movement by the far gate of the cemetery. A figure. Tall, pale, wearing a long black cloak. It wasn't glowing like the others. It was solid. I stepped outside, squinting. Hey, cemetery's closed, pal. The figure turned slowly, revealing a skull-like mask with antlers sprouting from the top. In its hands, it carried a rusted lantern that burned with purple flame. Moptimus vibrated violently. Third gate guardian. Man, he's early, I hissed. The figure raised the lantern and the ground between us cracked open. Flames shot skyward. Dale Haggerty, it rasped, voice like dry leaves. The dead reject your cleansing. The third gate will devour the living. Yeah. Then I'm sending you back with a squeaky clean exit. Lightning flashed overhead. The storm hit all at once. Wind howling, rain slamming down, the smell of ozone thick enough to taste. I gripped Moptimus, bracing for round 3. Dale, the mop's voice said faintly. The third gate is the heart of Grigsby Hill. If it opens, the world will bleed. I gulped. Guess we better grab some band-aids. The figure lifted its lantern again, and from the graves around us, the ground began to rumble. Hundreds of skeletal hands clawed upward, all chanting one word in unison. M-O-P. I looked down at Moptimus. Okay, bro. You're famous and terrifying. Let's finish this. The wind howled through Grigsby Hill Cemetery like the whole mountain was exhaling. Lightning painted the sky blood orange. Thunder rolled across the tombstones, and I stood in the middle of it all. Just a stone janitor gripping a glowing mop while the gates of hell literally cracked open beneath my boots. No big deal, just another Tuesday night on minimum wage. The antlered figure stalked closer, its cloak dragging through the mud, that purple lantern swinging like a pendulum of doom. Behind it, the third gate tore through the ground. A swirling vortex of darkness and fire that looked way too expensive for my pay grade. Moptimus vibrated in my hands, glowing so bright it hurt to look at. The third gate must not open. Yeah, I caught that part, I yelled over the wind. Any tips that don't involve dying? We clean, Dale. Right. Guess it's time for a deep cleanse. The first wave hit. Skeletons, ghouls, and shadowy things poured out of the cracks like they'd been waiting centuries for this. I swung Moptimus in a wide arc, and every hit exploded in light. Blue, gold, sometimes even pink for no reason. It didn't matter. The mop was a storm of divine janitorial fury. Lightning struck a tree nearby, splitting it in half. The antlered guardian stepped through the flames untouched, its lantern pulsing brighter. You think your relic can undo death? It rasped. The dirt remembers, janitor. The dead remember I spat rainwater and grinned. Then let's remind him who mopped the floor with him last year. I charged. The creature swung its lantern like a flail. I ducked, rolled through the mud, and jammed Moptimus into the ground. A shockwave burst outward, hurling skeletons into the air like bowling pins. The mop's light connected to the portal, sending ripples through it. Focus, Dale! Trying. The Reaper raised its hands and the sky cracked. Bolts of purple lightning struck the ground, igniting new cracks. Ghosts screamed as they spiraled into the vortex. The gate was widening again. I gritted my teeth. Not tonight. I ran straight at the Reaper, rain hammering my face, the mop glowing like the world's angriest glow stick. We collided. Its lantern met my mop with a clang that split the air. Sparks of gold and violet rained down, swirling around us as the world trembled. You cannot cleanse what was born in rot, it hissed. Buddy, I cleaned a porta-john at Burning Man. Don't test me, Moptimus flared, golden tendrils of light wrapping around the Reaper's arms, pinning it in place. I twisted, forcing it back toward the vortex. The gate roared like a living thing, its energy pulling everything inward. "Dale," Moptimus said, voice shaking. "The gate requires a sacrifice." I froze mid-struggle. "A what now?" "A living soul must stand in the cleanse. Only then will it seal forever." I hesitated. Rain pounded. The Reaper laughed through cracked teeth. "Then you die with me, mortal." My heart thumped so loud I could barely think. I glanced around. No backup, no escape. Just me, the mop, and a giant ghost moose thing trying to eat reality. Then I grinned. "All right, Moptimus. You saved my sorry ass plenty." Time I returned the favor, I shoved the Reaper backward toward the gate. The pull nearly ripped me off my feet. I jammed Moptimus into the dirt, used it as leverage, and pushed harder. The creature screamed, the lantern shattered, and black fire spilled out like tar. I grabbed Moptimus with both hands and dove straight into the vortex with it. For a moment there was nothing but light. Pure, blinding, all-consuming. I saw flashes. Every ghost I'd fought, every tombstone I'd passed, every bad decision that led me here. Then the light folded inward, sealing the gate like a zipper. When I woke up, it was dawn. The cemetery was quiet. Birds chirped. The sun rose through the fog, golden and soft. No monsters, no gates, just peace. I sat up dazed, covered in mud. The ground where the gate had been was solid again, the grass untouched. In the middle of it stood Moptimus, perfectly upright, glowing faintly blue. I staggered over. "You made it?" The mop twitched once in response, like a lazy salute. "Cleanse complete." I smiled. "Guess Halloween's safe for another year. Until next shift." I laughed, coughing through the exhaustion. "Man, if HR asks, I'm taking the rest of the week off." Moptimus didn't reply. Its glow faded, returning to its normal beat-up janitor look. Just an ordinary mop again, if you didn't know better. I picked it up and leaned on it like a walking stick, watching the sun rise over the gravestones. The mist sparkled in the light. For the first time, Grigsby Hill looked peaceful. Then, from somewhere far away, I heard the faint toll of a bell. Once, twice, and a whisper in the wind. "See you next Halloween, Dale?" I groaned. Great. Can't even call in sick for the apocalypse. Moptimus's mop head flopped once, as if laughing. I sighed, lighting the last of my joint. Guess we'll be ready. The smoke curled up through the dawn air, twisting into the faint shape of a smile before fading into the sunrise.